faith. Have faith. Believe in your source. Have faith.
Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Our co-host Lulu Benavidez is a seasoned entrepreneur in the beauty industry, is a photographer, artist, and the proud owner of Lulu's The Salon in Galveston, Texas. Our other co-host, Krokonis Hanson, is a visionary in the entrepreneurial world with years of experience in business innovation and development. Together, they bring you insights, inspiration, and the journeys of remarkable individuals who have made their mark. And with that, let's get started. Gayla Cullers is a leader in the cattle industry, co-owning Heritage Cattle Company with her husband, Judd Cullers. With a background in education and a passion for agriculture, she has helped establish Heritage as a global leader in elite Brahman cattle genetics. A Texas native from a family of educators, Gayla carries forward a commitment to mentorship and leadership. Since founding Heritage Cattle Company in 1998, she and Judd have advanced cattle breeding through in vitro fertilization, DNA-marked herds, and genomic tracking. Their cattle are sought after worldwide, making Heritage a trusted name in the industry. Before ranching full-time, Gayla was a teacher, and that passion for education continues today. She and Judd mentor young ranchers, support agricultural scholarships, and host industry events like the International Field Day and Heritage Classic. Active in key industry organizations, she is dedicated to innovation, sustainability, and the future of Brahman breeding. Through faith, family, and a commitment to excellence, Gayla Cullers is preserving a legacy while shaping the next generation of ranchers. Let's please welcome in Gayla Cullers.
Welcome, artists, icons, and entrepreneurs. We're so excited to have you join us in this journey of creativity, innovation, and inspiration. This podcast is all about shining a spotlight on the individual, from the groundbreaking artists to visionary business leaders, and we uncover the unique stories, lessons, and moments that have shaped their paths. Together with my co-host, Krokonis Hanson, we explore our guests and turn passion into purpose and create meaningful impact of their industries and communities. You will hear raw, real conversation of these individuals, and you will laugh along the way. With your turning into inspiration, motivation, just a good story, you're here to hear Gayla.
Welcome, Gayla. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me today. I appreciate it.
Gayla, oh my God. You're one of my clients.
And you be honest, for how long, how many years?
I don't know. I stopped counting. And, reading your bio, you said something about that I'm one of your first stylists. Is that correct?
100%. I think you gave me my first permanent wave back in the 70s.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
How old were you?
I was in elementary school, like maybe second, third grade. Uh-huh. It was a long time. It was in Texas City, Lulu.
Oh, my God. It was in Texas City?
In Texas City. So that tells you how long ago it was.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. I forgot.
Uh-huh.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And just so you know, I told my husband when we got married that we could go and work anywhere he wanted to in the world. But if it was far away from Lulu, he would have to make enough money for me to fly home to get my hair done.
I love it. Oh, my God. I can't believe that. That is unreal. That is unreal. And now, not only do I do you, I've done your mother, and I do one of your daughter's hair. And I've done some of your other daughters, right?
You have, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you come from a family of educators, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Both my mother and my dad were involved in education, teaching, and administration. And then two of my grandparents were also involved in teaching and educating. So, yeah, I have a strong education background. And that's my degree as well in college. Mm-hmm.
And then you married Judd, which is the fifth generation in the cattle business. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is. So a big change from what I was used to growing up. I love it. I've always loved it.
So when did you get married?
We got married when we were still in college, in 1990, I believe. That was the year. So yeah, we finished school, and then he worked for a few other ranches around to get experience before we came back home to help his parents and then take over the ranch.
Wow.
And you have 3 daughters, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many grandchildren?
I have 3 right now. 3 grandchildren.
And are they all involved in the cattle industry?
They are. They each have their own careers, they and their husbands. We encourage them to get a degree and pursue jobs in something that they were interested in that wasn't necessarily in the cattle business. I feel strongly about education, and I think for me, they needed to be able to take care of themselves and be independent if that's what they chose to do, and away from agriculture. But they still all participate on a daily basis in the workings of the ranch here. They don't live here, but they each play a part, and they come home and help us with events and different things that we do here at the ranch.
So how do you balance your family life with your career in agriculture?
Well, for us, family is always first.
Okay.
So I think once we set family as a priority, everything else kind of falls in line. Mm-hmm. When you work for yourself, as you know, you don't ever get off. You work all the time. Even when you're maybe not in the shop or in the office or in the field, you're still working. Your phone's ringing, all of those things. Mm-hmm. So for us, if we found that if we take care of the family relationships, all of the work relationships seem to work themselves out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things, I'm a Midwest girl. Call me
Yes,
a
ma'am.
Midwest farm girl. What I've always found is that farming, ranching, being close to the earth is good for families. Families work together. You have common mission. Hard work is not a dirty word. Manual labor is not the president of Mexico. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
And so those good family ties, in my opinion, are what really holds our country together. And, there are people from, the North and South that hold the East and West together, and they run something called agriculture.
Yes, ma'am.
And so for me to find a woman who is not from an agricultural background, who got into Brahman genetics and breeding program, I was so excited to talk to you, because artists, icons, and entrepreneurs, you have to be a real entrepreneur to really put your flag down and be known as being successful in a business that I would think is, at one time was predominantly run by males.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So that's an interesting part of it. And I think unless you happen to be from agriculture, you probably don't really understand what a breeding program or genetics are. Again, I'm a horsewoman. I have been all my life, so I understand this. But for a lot of people, we have a lot of people, city people, whatever, everybody, should have been a cowboy. But other than that, so why don't you just kind of, for audience, tell us about your program, what the program is, how you established it, because I think it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, absolutely. And I will say that I agree with the statements that you made. I think the ethics involved in agriculture, you don't find those in a lot of other places. Mm-hmm. We've spent many Thanksgiving, Christmas mornings where we give our employees time with their families. So our Thanksgiving looks like everyone has a shovel and a feed bucket, and we do all those jobs, together before we cut the turkey or do those kinds of things. So I agree with that. Go back and I don't remember exactly what question you asked me.
Well, I was saying, two parts. One, and we might, the cart before the horse here, but one, to be in the industry that you're in, coming from a teaching background in what I think would be a predominantly male-run business, you really had to be an entrepreneur to put your flag down and establish it, and then to tell our audience exactly what that business is and how that fits into what's really happening with modern agriculture today.
Okay.
And that's
okay,
a mouthful.
No, that's good. I'm sorry. I'm paying better attention now. So all of the land that my family ranches on now, it's come through my husband's family, was land grant land. And if you're familiar with Texas history, the part of Texas, all of Texas, where we live, used to be part of Spain and then Mexico. And so in the 1831, my husband's great-grandmother, several generations back, traveled here as a young girl with her father because they received a land grant from the Mexican government. So that, to me, set the precedent of hard work and stick-to-itiveness and also entrepreneurship, because they came here and there was nothing. There was nothing here with, Stephen F. Austin in those days, if you're a Texas history type person. And then we have her diaries where she talks about the war with Mexico. Her first husband passed away. People didn't live a long time back then. There wasn't a lot of medicine and things like that. And she was a really incredible person. She started most of the schools in the area that I live in now. Her sons, she encouraged them. They made the local government.
Wow.
They developed businesses based on the resources that were here. So they had a mail exchange where when the carriage came through, people would get off. That's also where they came to get their mail. Everything from that to when the trains came in and they put in railroads, she had to figure out a way to dig water wells. So because they had to put up fences, so then they needed water wells. So to me, that sets a precedent of women working hard. When we have her diaries and journals and things like that, we can see what she lived through and how she creatively turned that into a way for her family to live in an area that was really, really raw at that time. So all of the land that we have now is passed down through the women of Judd's family. So the first lady, Rachel, had her son, J.D., and then he had a daughter, and she had a daughter, and another daughter, and then it's Judd. So when Judd and when his parents asked us to move back to help with the family business, like you said, it was male-dominated, and we have 3 daughters. So we made a decision that, yes, we would come back and help, but one of the stipulations was we would like to take our same land and our same animals and function under a new business heading so that we could kind of do things our way. And by doing that, it allowed Judd's mother and his sisters to participate. And then as they phased out of the business and we took it over, it allowed our daughters to be able to participate in the day-to-day decisions of the ranch. So they help with our marketing, our website development, our educational events, our accounting, our bookkeeping, things like that. They all 3 have their own careers, but still on a daily basis help and participate and each lend their area of expertise.
So all of that gets back to you do Brahma.
Yes, ma'am.
Bull, breeding, genetics, all the different types of DNA that's involved. Again, for the unlearned person, tell us why Brahma, why that's so important to create this form of genetics and what
Sure.
it is you do.
Sure. Brahman cattle feed the tropical world. So if you're looking at a globe at the equator, if you go about 45 degrees, even 30 degrees above and below the equator, the kind of cattle that you see in children's picture books, like the black ones or the ones with spots, those type of cattle can't really survive in the hot tropical areas where a majority of the world's population lives.
Yeah.
So our ancestors imported Brahman cattle here to the United States from India way back when, mostly for environmental reasons. They're able to sweat. They have sweat glands all over their body. They secrete an oil that helps keep the insects off. They have big ears and folds in their skin to help release heat. They can also wrinkle. They have muscles under their skin, so they can wrinkle their skin to get insects off. They don't have to, when you see cows like flip their tails and do that, they don't have to do those things.
Right.
They can, like we can, wrinkle their cheek or move like that. And so they're able to live and thrive in these kinds of conditions. Consumption-wise, they are able to convert grass to pounds more easily than other types of cattle are. So they don't have to have as much input, and the input cost is way less for Brahman cattle than it is for some of your other breeds, like Angus is what people would be really familiar with. So the input cost is a lot less. While that works for us, our animals are not directly seen by consumers in the market. We don't sell ours into the food consumption line.
Right.
We sell the genetic end of that. So we have a smaller gene pool, and we work on emphasizing those traits and genes that are profitable for people that maybe put food into the consumer market 2 or 3 generations away from where we're at right now. So we say seed stock. In our industry, it's called seed stock producers. So what our customers buy are the genetic packages of these animals. Then we're able we do a lot of work in tracing genes, in collecting data like growth, input versus growth, output. And we try to tie those into the genetic markers. It makes the product way more marketable.
I'm down here in Florida, and a lot of people don't think of Florida as a cattle state. They think of sandy beaches and Disneyland, but cattle is a big business, as you know, in Florida. And we see a lot of that breed down here, because of the environment, particularly, you get Southwest Florida.
If you look along the Texas Gulf Coast, all of the states along the Gulf Coast, you're going to find Brahman cattle or Brahman cross cattle in all of those herds for the most part.
And that's really important to feeding the world, because we need to make sure we have good food going forward for our generations.
Absolutely. And Brahman cattle, like I said, with all the talk about conservation and being green, if you want to call it that, Brahman cattle, they're able to walk to water. You don't need as many close by water sources. Their legs are built for walking and traveling, and they don't have to have as high a quality feed input as some of the other breeds do. So it is an economic advantage to have this genetics.
That is so cool. I'm just curious. So you are this really pretty young college girl, and you have this career in teaching, and then you meet Judd, and it's love, and then you find out, 5 generations, and then you find out, oh, the women are the matriarchs, and then the next thing, you're running this program. It just all sounds, like some storybook thing. What an adventure. You went on an adventure with Judd. That's so
Well,
cool.
I will, but I will say we do it together, and he really, he's the expert behind it. I'm just, I keep him organized and keep everything fresh and up to date. Yeah, he does. He's really, really good at what he does.
Yes, no doubt. No doubt. But to have that kind of a team, that's a great thing. We love those family businesses that are successful and work together, represent what I call American values. It's just really, really cool. Really
Thank
cool.
you so much. Thank you.
Right. So you mentioned that you and Judge are a team.
Yes,
Judge
ma'am.
is also a judge. I mean, he judges
ma'am.
competitions, and he all over the world, because I hear
ma'am.
stories from you all the time. And can you elaborate on that a little bit? What all he does?
Absolutely. Well, today, in fact, he's in Colombia judging a cattle show for the breed association that's there. Next month, he'll be in the Dominican Republic judging. There's about once a month he's out of the country judging a cattle show. He also does a lot of consulting work, and both of those things serve two purposes. In consulting, he'll go into herds and he'll actually mate up their females and what bulls or semen that they have available to help that customer reach whatever their marketing goal might be. It looks different in different places, and different people have different goals.
Right.
But that also helps us here at home, because we can see what the market trends are outside of the United States, and what the changing needs might be in other countries, as well as what resources they have available. Those things change depending on the environment, depending on the government of those countries, and also just that in general, every country's resource availability. Different markets go up and down. For a lot of our customers, the Brahman cattle may not be their first business. A lot of our customers outside of the United States, actually inside the United States, it's a secondary business. There are very few registered Brahman ranches where raising and selling genetics are their first line of business. So when he travels, it helps us see what our customers need, what we need to do better here at the ranch, and what kind of products we need to plan for down the road.
Was it last year or the year before you talked about doing a conference? Because every year you do a conference in conjunction with the Houston rodeo.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is coming up pretty soon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I know you're really, really busy. But
it's a fun time of the year.
Yeah. So you featured women.
We did.
That came to your ranch, which was 500 people. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell our audience about that?
Absolutely. So the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo happens around the first few weeks of March every year. For us here in Hungerford, we're about an hour south of Houston. So a lot of our customers come in to see the show, to do some networking, and to shop. Quite frankly, they shop. And so we developed a program on the day after the last day that our cattle are in Houston at the competition, when everyone is still in the States and we're close by. And we put on a conference. We call it a field day. I guess technically you would think we're in the field, but we actually have a facility to host things like this. Yeah. And we have different panelists that come and speak. Last year, we had a panelist of women, and it was women in agriculture. So we had a lady from Australia that she and her daughter operate. They measure differently, but thousands of hectares. So a very extensive ranch in Australia. We had a young entrepreneur from Thailand who is working to develop a semen sales business as well as a live animal sales business on a very small piece of land that she actually purchased with just with her family. So a newer way to market and breed there. We had a lady from Mexico who grew up ranching and then had some tragedies befall her family and decided to just kind of pull up her blue jeans and do it on her own, and has made a big difference in the in her area and actually for the industry there. Another one of our speakers was from Germany. Europe has a lot more governmental restrictions than we have here in the United States. So it was very interesting to hear her story about the hoops that they have to jump through in Europe to be able to maintain their business over there. And I think we had a lady from Colombia that also spoke, and she and her family are third and fourth generation breeders. And she told the story of how their business has changed as the economy and the role in the market for them has changed over there.
Sure.
So for us, it's super interesting to be able to pull together viewpoints from all over the world. We have the cattle in common, but everybody has a little bit different take and spin on how they run a business utilizing the animal, how they manage it. Management looks different in all of those countries.
Sure.
But it's a great day of being together. When the panelists are finished speaking, we have a long time for just talking and interacting, and people can ask questions. And it's a good learning experience on that day. The one that we have this year, we're bringing in we'll have a group of panelists, but we'll also have a speaker. He's a sculptor from Colombia, and he actually makes bronzes that are given as awards and trophies at the major Brahman livestock shows. So he's going to do a demonstration and talk about the process of developing bronze sculptures. So we're excited about that.
There you go. Artists, icons, and entrepreneurs. We did all three.
She's definitely that. I love hearing those stories about your conferences that you hold. And one that stuck in my mind, I can't even say it, is the one from Mexico, and the tragedy that occurred during her time as her husband was a rancher, and her so was her father-in-law. Was that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what stuck in my mind.
And she in fact is a beautiful woman. If you saw her on the street, you'd think she was a fashion model. She could be.
Yeah.
And she's the one out there breeding the cows, palpating like she riding the tractor. She does it all. And then she can also come in and put on her ball gown, and she's a princess. Definitely she made the decision. She had to make a conscious decision on which direction she wanted the rest of her life to take.
I'm curious, you have all these, first of all, your husband travels, so he sees what's going on in the world, and then you bring these very successful people in to talk personally about their areas. What do you feel is like the biggest challenge? And I'll just take it even outside your area, in the cattle industry today, because the cattle industry today is a huge industry. And
yes, ma'am. It is. There's several different ways to answer that question. I would say one is we are more global than we've ever been before. So we have to look at the whole global space instead of just our what's in our rearview mirror and what's right around us. So for us, some things that we do, we have to be very conscious of diseases that can spread. For example, the bird flu is going on right now. If you've bought eggs in the store, they're super expensive. Well, because of the bird flu, it's also closed some of our live animal exports. Now, cows don't really pass on or transmit the avian bird flu, but just as abundance of caution, I think that some of the countries have shut down imports from the United States. To me, education in that area would be very helpful because unless we're exporting birds, there's not a reason for them to close down that.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that has to do with politics.
Right.
So I think education is going to help all of us a lot. The smoother the politics can be between countries, I think it's better for us in what we do. As far as the cattle industry worldwide, I think we have more and more people to feed on less and less agricultural land.
Yeah.
So we have to look at efficiency, ways to feed efficiency, and that's where technology again plays a big part. Us personally, we use quite a bit of in vitro fertilization in our reproduction, which allows us to produce a greater number of higher end cattle that have the traits that we want. Judd always says a good cow eats the same and takes the same amount of space as one that's not as efficient.
Right.
So for us in how we operate, we try to make every acre do what it can do.
Right.
And then also we look at when we make breeding decisions to make the best breeding decision to make the best product for whatever that purpose may be. So globally, I think there's room for improvement in those areas too.
Yeah. And that's a big job, staying on top of that ever-changing landscape, I would think.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it is.
So, Gayla, can you talk about the scholarship program that you have that is named in honor of who is it? Your
ma'am.
Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. That would be Rachel N. Northington Hudgens. She was the lady that I was telling you about earlier that came to Texas in 1831. And when we decided, let me back up. We started a scholarship program several years ago. As our girls were getting ready to go off to college, there weren't as many scholarships available for the demographic that we fall into. There's a lot in other places, but for agriculture kids, sometimes it's hard. They're in smaller schools. They maybe don't get as much exposure. Their work may look different than someone that's from the city's job or what they've done while they're in school. So we just try to use the ethics, the work ethic, and what we've learned from her and the generation since to model our scholarships after that. So whatever sphere of influence you may be in, you can be a leader wherever that is. And that's kind of how we look at those scholarship applicants when we're choosing. Where's their sphere of influence, and if they decided to step out and be a leader in that environment.
Wow.
I don't think it matters what industry you're in, if it's sports or if it's in the financial world. Probably one of the most overused words is leadership. And what are the qualities of leadership? What does a leadership look like? And how is a leader today different than a leader was, even 15, 20 years ago? Things seem to be...
Things do change.
Yeah.
They do. Sometimes we, I think, have a tendency to default on who's the loudest and who gets the most attention. But to us, that's not really, a leader doesn't always pull from the front and scream and have everybody following. They're usually the ones that are in there working beside the others and listening to someone else's suggestion and recognizing when someone has a good idea and running with that, or encouraging those who are around you to do the best they can. I think that's, and then also taking advantage of whatever circumstance that you find yourself. I think with those ladies that Lulu and I were talking about a while ago, that's something we see in all of those ladies who spoke last year at our leadership conference. They all had different situations. They were all different, but where they find themselves, they kind of assess what resources are available, and they just keep moving forward, and they bring those that are around them forward at the same time. To me, that's a leader.
That's a leader. That's fabulous.
So for someone that's deeply rooted into ranching,
yes, ma'am.
What is your legacy to you that you leave for the next generation to come?
We talk about this a lot at our house. Judd and I do. Because we're starting to be in that a little older age, and we're like, how many new things do we want to take on? And like, what are your goals change, right? They change as you get older. For us, we take great pride in taking care of the gift that was given to us by past generations, and developing it into something that we can leave better than we found it for our girls and for our grandchildren. That's been our goal, and I guess that's how we would define success for us. Being able to leave the gift and the legacy better than what it was before.
So what's next for Heritage Cattle Company? Any new development on the horizon?
Yeah, well, yes. In the short term, just things we have coming up in the next few months. We're working with the government in the Philippines to put on a conference for the cattle breeders there. That's an emerging market for us, in the Philippines and Asia. There's a lot of mouths to feed over there. We've been working with the governments of Botswana and Panama and Ecuador, and working with their agricultural departments to bring in some genetics. They invest, and then they sell them at a lower price to the farmers in their countries to help bring up their whole program. We are doing some work with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, looking into Peru. Peru is the emerging market for us. We recently started a nonprofit with 3 other registered Brahman ranches. And in that nonprofit, we're going to work on the breeding and markability of Brahman cattle, and we're also going to continue to work on education and promotion here in the United States, and we're going to fund speakers to go to other places to do some of the things do some speaking and education and those type of things. We're also working hard to bring the rest of our industry up to scale on DNA. We do DNA tracing on all of our animals. Everything is parent verified, so we can say any calf that we sell is 100% out of the parents that we claim for it to be. And then we also do a lot of data collection and are tying those genomically to those DNA markers. So we're working hard on doing all of the measuring, weighing, marking, scanning. We do ultrasound scans to measure fat thickness and the ribeye measurement, marbling, and then tying those back to the actual genes. It gives us a little more marketing material besides just what people can see visually when they look at an animal. And then lastly, I in particular am very interested in seeing how the use of AI can help in what we do here on the ranch. We use AI in our marketing and helping to identify emerging markets. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what things emerge that will be useful for us in the agricultural industry through AI.
It sounds to me like you took an old-fashioned down-home cowboy tradition and high-teched it to the max. You know, when you start talking about AI and cattle, man, and just markers for the genetics, holy smokes, you got it going on, girl. Got it going on.
We work hard to be innovative in our marketing and innovative in our management practices, to use less employees if we can and fill in some of those holes and use our resources more wisely, whether they be water or people or money, dollars, grass, whatever that looks like.
It's a whole new world out there. You are an incredible woman, and I hope maybe we can set up something where once a year on your off season, which I don't think you ever have, we could have you back and find out what's new and just to keep up. It's just amazing to me.
Thank you. Absolutely.
We have a little game that our audience really has taken a like to. It just kind of took on a life of its own, but we find like it's like a lot of people are interested in the information, but they're also interested in little tidbits about the person, little glimpse behind the curtain. So we call it quick fire, and I'm going to ask 5 real simple, easy, kind of funny questions. This isn't meant to be serious, and if you can just give us a quick answer that maybe comes into the top of your head, share with our audience.
This scares me more than anything else that you've asked me so far.
Trust me, it's really easy. There's no hidden agenda here, but sometimes it's just kind of like, oh, she likes that too, or I never thought about that. So it's all real easy stuff. So we'll start with the easy one.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had the perfect day off, what would you do?
Oh, that is very easy. I would be on a beach with a good book and a cold drink and my snorkel gear. I would be swimming out there snorkeling.
You're maybe a Floridian. I'm just saying.
I could be. I love Miami Beach. It's a great place.
Absolutely. And Key West isn't bad either. So,
no,
okay. Yeah. Well, I know as an educator, I know that you're not only an avid lifelong learner, but you're a reader.
Yes, ma'am.
If someone came to you and they said, I'm thinking about starting a business, I have a dream, I really just am trying to immerse myself in this, what book would you tell them to read?
Okay, I have to be super honest with you. I absolutely love to read. I always have a book that I'm reading, but they're not self-help books. For me, reading is relaxation and entertainment. So, but if I was going to learn, if I wanted to do education and actually answer your question, I'm into podcasts. I really enjoy. I listen to yours that come. I have them all downloaded and listen to those. There's one that used to be on NPR that was called How I Built This, about entrepreneurs. That is a great one.
Look at me writing this down.
I really enjoyed those a lot.
I have another question. What do you think is the number one quality in leadership?
I would say self-confidence. And knowing yourself. Knowing who you are. Knowing where you're going. And then I wouldn't say 100% of the time, but I think the people that we surround ourselves with gives us a platform to have the courage to do some of those things that would otherwise be really, really difficult. I don't know that I think if you look at any leader, you're going to see that leader has the ability to pick a team of friends, a team of workers, and they build those people up to help give them a firm foundation to go from there.
What's your favorite pair of boots?
Good one. My favorite brand of boots right now, I love Lane boots. Lane. They're super comfortable. My husband has a very different opinion, and my daughters do too. So
Sure. and you have to. I didn't clarify if I was talking about work boots or dress boots, because they're a very different thing. You know.
They are. They are.
Yeah.
Work boots for me in coastal Texas are mud boots.
Yeah,
those are my favorite work boots.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can wash them back off of that water hose.
That's right, absolutely. And then my last question is kind of a funny question, but if they were making the movie of your life, who would you cast to play you?
A real movie star? I don't know. What's the name of the lady that plays Beth Dutton in Yellowstone?
Oh my God, Miriam Hunt. Oh, I love her. I love her.
I do too. I told my girls the other day, we were doing some family things, and I said, when the time comes and you write my obituary, I just want it to be she loved fiercely.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of where I fall.
I love that. She loved fiercely. What a great line. I would have them put that on my tombstone.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you know what? At the end of the day, it really takes a lot of courage to love fiercely.
It does. Yes, ma'am.
What a cool guest, Lulu.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, her hair looks terrific.
Oh, doesn't it? Well, that's good. She just got it colored the other day.
I did.
Saturday.
Nothing interferes with my Lulu time. Nothing interferes.
Oh, Gail. You have a worth of knowledge, and we definitely got, Sue said we're going to have you back, because there's so much more that we haven't talked about and we want to learn. And when we do this podcast, we're learning from individuals all the time.
All the time.
I love it.
All the
I
time.
love it. I love listening to y'all, because no matter what the industry, everyone has something to share that you can take and apply to what we all do.
Right.
So thank you for hosting these.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
where can people find you?
Well, on social media, we have a Facebook, an Instagram, a TikTok, and a YouTube channel. So we have material there. We have a website, heritagecattle.com. That's probably our most, we try to keep that very accurate and up to date with events and goings on there.
Great.
Or come visit us. We're an hour from Intercontinental Airport in Houston. So we love to have visitors, and anytime you want us to stop through, we would love to have anyone in Choma around.
And it's called Heritage Cattle Company.
Yeah.
Yes,
Heritage
ma'am.
Cattle Company. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you, Gayla, so much for coming to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, and we're glad to have you as a guest here. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I'll have to come see you, Sue, in Florida, South Florida.
And next time you're on, I'll have one of my many cowboy hats on.
Oh, yeah,
perfect.
she's
if you wear one, I'll wear one of mine too.
Dig out your hat, Lulu. Here we go.
I'm going to have to get out my hat. I might have to tell Gayla it's going to have to go shopping for me.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Thank you,
Thank you, lady.
Thank you.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/Artists, Icons, Entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavidez, on IG at Lulu Benavidez, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavidez.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.